Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things. Today's question comes from one of our curious viewers, Great Escape. Thanks for the suggestion, Great Escape. You asked, what is the difference between red wine and white wine? Now this sounds like a simple question, right? One's red, one's white. End of video. However, this innocent little question opens the door to grape skin drama, ancient chemistry, fermentation chaos, and a shocking truth that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about wine color. So pour yourself a totally legal beverage of choice and let's explore what really separates red wine from white wine, right here on Explaining Everything. Let's begin with the biggest twist of all. Most wine starts with the exact same type of grape, dark purple ones. That's right, white wine is not usually made from white grapes. It's made from regular dark grapes that simply got the skin evicted early. Here's the secret sauce. Grape skins contain the pigment. The juice inside almost every grape, even dark ones, is actually clear. If you crush a dark grape and immediately remove the skins, you get clear juice that becomes white wine. If you leave the skins in there to soak like a tanning bed from hell, you get red wine. This soaking process is called maceration, and this is where personalities start forming. Red wine gets its deep color, heavier texture, and bold flavor because it spends time hanging out with the skins. White wine, on the other hand, punches out early and keeps things lighter and brighter. So the real difference begins with one brutal decision. Do the skins stay or get kicked to the curb? Once the grape juice exists, both red and white wine go through the same magical transformation, fermentation. This is where yeast rolls up like, "Oh, nice sugar you have there." Would be a shame if someone turned it into alcohol. For white wine, fermentation usually happens without the skins, so the flavors stay clean, crisp, and often fruity or floral. This is why white wine tends to taste refreshing and light, like it's trying to behave in public. Red wine, however, is fermenting with the skins still inside the party. This adds structure, deeper flavors, and something called tannins, the compounds that give red wine that dry, mouth-gripping sensation, like your tongue just shook hands with chalk. Tannins are why red wine feels heavier when you drink it. It's not thicker, it just emotionally commits to your mouth. So fermentation is basically the personality factory. White wine becomes smooth and easygoing. Red wine becomes bold, dramatic, and slightly judgmental. Now, we arrive at the part where people pretend they taste things like smoke, leather, and a memory of blueberries. White wine is generally described as crisp, bright, citrusy, and light. Think apples, pears, lemon, tropical fruit, and wow, this is refreshing. It's the wine that feels like it showed up on a boat. Red wine flavor profiles are darker and heavier. Cherry, blackberry, plum, spice, chocolate, and sometimes vaguely campfire. This is the wine that feels like it owns a fireplace and judges your rent. The reason these flavors differ so wildly is, again, it's the skins. The skins release compounds during fermentation that shape flavor, bitterness, color, and how the wine literally feels against your teeth. There's also temperature. White wine is usually served colder, which sharpens acidity and keeps it snappy. Red wine is served warmer, which lets those heavy flavors fully stretch their legs and kick over your emotional stability. So if white wine feels like a refreshing splash and red wine feels like a dramatic monologue, congratulations. Your mouth understands science. Let's destroy the biggest wine myth real quick. Red wine is not stronger than white wine by default. Alcohol content depends on sugar levels during fermentation, not color. Some white wines can have just as much alcohol as red wines. So if you blamed the red wine for your life choices, it might have been the white wine working from the shadows. Color, chemically speaking, comes from anthocyanins, natural pigments found in grape skins. These same compounds also exist in blueberries, blackberries, and purple cabbage, the holy trinity of permanent stains. The longer red wine stays with those skins, the deeper the color and the stronger the tannins. White wine avoids this entirely, which is why it stays pale, golden, or straw-colored instead of dramatic velvet. So in the end, wine color is not destiny. It's just timing and commitment. They both start as grapes. They both rely on yeast. They both become alcohol. But their personalities split the moment the skins get involved, which means red and white wine aren't opposites. They're siblings who grew up in the same house and chose wildly different aesthetics. And now that you finally know what actually separates red wine from white wine, you'll never look at that glass the same way again. If you learned something new, don't forget to like, subscribe, and enjoy choosing either. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.